Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 23 of the NFP podcast presented by 3D Entertainment. The NFP podcast is brought to you by Sneaky Weasel Lager and Hey Y'all Southern Iced Teas, the official alcohol sponsor of the show. As well, our official clothing sponsor, Wrangler. Long live Cowboys. What's up, everybody? Back with another episode, number 23, hitting them off. This here is another episode of the Bullfighting Cowboy Protection portion of our show. Pretty excited to have that. Before we get into all the current events and all the shit that's going on in the world, I'll introduce everybody. Jason Davidson's back. How you doing?
Oh, LT, what's up, man? It's been you know what? Number 23, eh?
Yep.
Oh, shout out to number 23, past guest, Killer Kamikaze.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of Killer Kamikaze, I wonder what he thinks of the whole Tom Wilson episode that's going on. I don't know. Have you guys checked the news out on that?
No, what's going down? I seen you went a little spaz the other night.
Rapper right off the nutty bar, body slam. It was like a freaking scene out of WWF last night. And he gets a $5,000 fine. That's it. That is it.
Really?
Panarin is done for the season, they said.
Concussion?
Well, I would think the way he went down on the ice. Yeah, it's all over. He's trending all over Twitter. You can check it out. Wow. Former tough guy John Scott just come out and asked if George Peros, who's in charge of player safety, he's like, I don't know, does he have some skin in the game or some money on the line for Washington to win the cup? Because this is just, it's brutal how it was handled. So yeah, a lot of backlash about that.
We'll see. All righty, Scotty Byrne's here too. How you doing, Scott?
I'm good, guys. Good to see you again. Your smiling faces.
Tearing it up. As well today, joined for our Bullfighting Cowboy Protection episode, the one and only Jesse Byrne comes on to share some of his opinions on the whole realm of the Bullfighting Cowboy Protection NFP podcast style. Jesse Byrne, how you doing?
Good, man. Last time must not have been too bad if you're having me back. So it's nice to see you guys.
Fucking right. Yeah, we'll have you back anytime. Thanks for joining us. How you been doing?
Good, man. Been loving it. It's been keeping up on all the podcasts. It's been keeping me entertained, keeping me in the loop. So just getting by, trying to make a living in this crazy world.
Fucking hey. So we're joined by Rob Smets today. We'll go to our interview with Rob here in a little bit. Legend in the game, one of the best bullfighters to ever strap cleats on, that all of us here on this podcast have the utmost respect for it. Such a cool story of ups and downs, but we'll get into him in a minute. But first, the breaking news in the Western lifestyle world is the rodeo that happened just outside of Bowden, Alberta. Ty Northcott Rodeo Incorporated puts on what they call it, Scott? The
Rodeo Rally?
Rally, no more lockdowns rodeo is what they call it, and opened it up to the public, defied all rules of Alberta health and safety of gatherings and all that sort of stuff. Said, fuck it, we're doing our own rodeo. Invited people out to come and obviously it's a Ty Northcott deal because it was all cash, which cracked me up. Holy fuck, that guy loves dealing in cash. But had about 2,000 people in attendance. Scott, you got some insights on it. Can you share kind of what went on there?
Yeah, I was just talking with Dennis Halstead, who a professional rodeo clown who actually worked there. He said it was the most amazing thing to be involved with, just with what's been going on in this crazy world for the last 16 months or 18 months. And he said roughly 1,000 people per day. Went off without a hitch. The only thing they had was, I think the RCMP showed up one day and asked Ty if he had a permit. He said, I didn't know I had to have one, and they left, and that was the end of it. But he said, Ty talked at the end of the deal, and he said, I'm not doing this to defy COVID and to defy rules. He said, I'm doing it to stay alive. I'm losing everything here as well as everybody else in this industry, the entertainment industry and the Western events industry. And they said it was amazing. He said people came and camped and laughed and listened to music and whatever else. But it was, Dennis said it was just refreshing to hear it and see it. So it was, sounded like it was a great weekend.
So what I've found with it is there's hugely divided opinions on it. It's either you're 100% for it or 100% fucking against it. And it's pretty wild to see how divided our country is and our Western lifestyle is. There's, you don't know what people think or how they are going to respond to it. Obviously, thousands of people were for it. Thousands of people were against it. What do you think, Jason, as a producer and a guy that's trying to put on events? What do you think of what went on there?
Well, I got mixed feelings with it for obvious reasons. You know, I'm not in a position where I could go do something like that and put the professional bull riders at a liability or in a position where we would be shut down as a business. You know, we're at the mercy of government in some regard because we can't sell tickets right now, right? We can't have these gatherings. So it was, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was certainly paying attention on social media, what was going on there. And you know, I'm happy that they were able to pull it off, and you know, there was nobody was hurt. And when I say nobody was hurt, like there was no altercations which you know, forced any I guess, you know, could have went like where it got pretty violent if you have the wrong protesters. Like you watch some of the stuff that's gone on, even in Innisfail when they had the BLM deal a year ago. You know, there was some pushing and shoving and stuff, which there was none of that. So I was glad to see that none of that went on. But do you think this will light the fire under other people's asses to try and do the same thing? Do you think it's, you know, it takes one to kind of start it? Do you think other people are going to follow suit? Well, I think sanctioning bodies like the Professional Bull Riders or the Canadian Professional Rodeo Association still have to wait on sanctions to be lifted or rules to be lifted. If you want to go ahead and do events on your own property and do what Ty did, I could see that happening. Yeah, right. I think that probably will instigate some stuff, and then a whole bunch more backlash from the, you know, the lockdown people. But what I don't get is, how long do people want to be locked down for? They're usually the ones that are getting a paycheck, I would think.
Yeah, who wants to be locked down is the motherfuckers that can still live their lives normally and get paid from doing their job at home and shit. You know what I mean? People like us that are Western lifestyle people we can't make a living in any which way by living the way that we're doing. So yeah, I think it'll come down.
We can only do so many podcasts.
Yeah. I think it's going to come down to what Alberta Health and Safety maybe does, or what happens to Ty or to the Northcott family now that they've done this. So I read today that they put out a thing that Alberta Health Safety is reviewing it and will, you know, hand out fines, or we'll see what goes on. So we'll see if it gets swept under the rug, if he gets a fine, we'll see what the repercussions are for it. And then I think people will start to decide after that, see what happens to them, and then they can make their own decisions on events that they might want to have. I don't know.
But I think it goes back to, you know, we've talked about this before on other podcasts. If you want to go and wear a mask, not wear a mask, if you choose out of those 1,000, 2,000 people, you choose to go, then on a private property, then go, let it happen. Right. I don't know. If you don't, stay home.
And the flip side of that is people saying that you obviously haven't had anybody affected by it, or you don't have a nurse or a doctor in your family that has the ICUs and all that stuff backed up. But like, I would not be against going to an event like that, signing a paper that says, if I get sick, I will not fucking go to the hospital. I will not clog up your ICUs. I will not do this to other people or put it on other people. I will handle it all. If I die, I fucking die at this point. You know, I don't, in that sense of it, I think like we say, if you want to go and do it, go do it. And the other people are going to say, well, look at the repercussions. It's not about you. It's about everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But in the other sense of it too, you guys, we were supposed to do this so that the elderly and stuff wouldn't get affected by it. And those that are, have immune systems that can't handle it. Right. So we didn't see my grandmother for a year and a half because we didn't want to make her sick. What happens? She passes away from old age, and that whole year we didn't get to spend with her because we were trying to stay away from her. So we just wasted a whole fucking year of being able to visit with her and hang out with her. So we're afraid of this disease that could kill somebody, when in reality we're not living our lives and people are dying anyway. And you wasted all that fucking time being able to see them and visit with them and talk with them. So
100%.
There's both ends to this that is totally brutal. And who knows? We'll see what happens with Ty and with this whole scenario. And the big uproar on social media was the Canadian Pro Rodeo Association, the CPRA, put out a statement saying and half kind of condemning Ty for doing it and saying that they had nothing to do with it. And it's really kind of blowing back in their face right now with everybody saying, why would you have to say that? Why do you come out with that? I think they're trying to show Alberta Health and Safety and the people that are putting out the regulations that they're not attached to it, and they're still trying to do it the right way that they think is the right way, and they had nothing to do with it. But it's really got people against them, I think.
I don't think it needed to be said, though, because they aren't doing anything right now. They're not trying to have any events. I mean, nothing that we've heard of yet. I don't think there was anything that needed to be said to set them apart from that. That's what I'm scratching my head about. But I mean, here we are again. What's that?
I think it's funny. It's like, it's classic. You're trying to avoid looking a certain way and, avoid backlash by putting on some sort of front that you're not a certain thing. And then in the end, you still get backlash, right? It's just like, just worry about doing you, and the rest will be what it is. So,
well, and we're like, let's just basically say we're the middle of May coming up on us quick. Is there going to be any events again this year? Not looking good. Not looking good. So
we seem to be worse off than we were this time last year.
We are.
Yeah, we are. The cure can't be worse than the disease. You guys heard that one before? And that's a fact. It can't.
I think to me, the whole thing kind of just speaks to a bigger problem with our entire healthcare system, and spending a lot of time in the US. I always had US guys asking about Canadian healthcare system, thinking that it's so great and grand. But what's carrying this whole thing on is just the overwhelmed nature of our entire healthcare system. And unless something happens about that, whether it's COVID or the next variant, we'll be in this situation forever. So as far as Ty's event goes and stuff, I think you said it, Scott, it's a drastic measure. He feels like that's what it's come to. He's not going to be able to go on another day without doing something like that. So at times like this, it causes people to have to act in selfish manners, and that affects others in various ways that we're probably yet to see. But I can't find a side in it. I feel like I'm in the middle and not sure where to go. It's kind of like a stuck mode.
Yeah, it's confusing and it's frustrating. That's
very fucking frustrating.
I'm with you, Jess. It's just like, I don't know what to do anymore, right?
So here's some comments on our NFP page on Facebook. So you guys go over there and follow all that stuff, and we'll be sharing all the news that comes along with Ty's Rodeo here. But so we shared the statement from the CPRA, and here's the dividedness between it, right? Here's Joanne Marshall. I think everyone is right if that's a possibility. I see that folks' mental health is on the decline at a fast and steady rate, and they need connection more than anything. We lost someone this February due to suicide, and I'm not 100%. It could have been avoided in normal times. but I also live in Edmonton and go for appointments and watch military medic helicopters practice landing on hospital roofs. I had a friend contract COVID and have to be hospitalized, and I truly worried that he wasn't going to make it. Jim Lawrence. The decision by the CPRA to announce they are not affiliated with the Bowden Rodeo was obviously a calculated decision. This event did create a platform to draw attention to the plight that the rodeo sport/business is currently enduring due to the government restrictions enforced throughout Canada. Pro Rodeo Canada lost a great opportunity to send that message. So it goes on and on and on, and it's one person with it, one person against it. It's the big pandemic right now is the dividedness in our country and how nobody knows what's right and what's wrong. It's wild. Yeah. But fuck it. Let's move on before we get too deep down the rabbit hole. But you got to go into it because that's the big news right now. So we'll see what plays out, and we'll see what comes with what goes on. But our guest today, Rob Smets. This is the bullfighting episode, like we talked before. Jesse, did you fight with Rob, or was he gone by the time you came in on tour?
Well, he was retired by the time I came in, but one day at the PBR finals, day one, there was an extra bag in the locker room, and there was Joe, Shorty, Frank, and I, and then this extra gear bag, and we were all trying to figure out, which bull rider had thrown their shit in there, or what was going on. And then here come Rob rolling in, and he said, "I'm back for one more." Like, what?
Yeah, he fought one bull, right? He fought
one
bull.
So him and Lambert came to some sort of deal where it wasn't going to be the whole day. It was going to be the first section, I guess, I think is what it was. So we got to get around one together, and so that was pretty cool. That was a highlight. And then as Rob progressed into the announcing side of things, we worked a lot of touring pros together and stuff like that. So it's been pretty cool.
Like, I always got to see Rob at the PBR World Finals or the NFR. He'd be there, and we always got to catch up, which, unfortunate here last year we didn't. So you kind of miss those meet and greets with all those guys you see every year. But I can honestly say Rob was certainly influential even before I knew him. He was one of those guys you wanted to be like, a 5-time world champion. That's what we grew up wanting to be, and be like him.
Definitely. Scott, what's your experiences with Rob? Did you work with him at all, or obviously grew up watching him, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, watching all those old bullfights and stuff. I never really got to work with them. Of course, I spent most of my career up here in Canada, and as people here, he has a good scenario why he never ended up in Calgary. So, no, I never really got to step around one with him, but it would have been cool. Don't get me wrong. It sure was. Just to see him on those old tapes was pretty wild. I don't know if there's ever going to be another experience like that for a group of guys. But, I just grew up watching him, but never got to work with him.
Oh, that's badass. Yeah, I think those guys back in the day had a few Hey Y'all Southern Iced Teas. Hey Y'all Southern Iced Teas. Our tea is always served iced and hard. This vodka-based iced tea is brewed with our genuine black tea and lightly sweetened. Enjoy a Hey Y'all Southern Iced Tea while taking in the main bull riding event or sipping a cold one on the porch. Hey Y'all Southern Iced Teas, the official refreshment beverage of the NFP podcast. So, what's got?
I would like to say that I did get to hear firsthand stories from like Uncle Ryan, because he was right in the the mix when that all was going down. So, as a kid, it was pretty exciting to sit in the truck and go to the next pasture or whatever we were doing and hear some of those stories. I was lucky that way. Let's put it to you like that.
Yeah, most definitely. You guys, I would like to ask you this question too, since this is the bullfighting episode. Who's your favorite team to work with over all the years? And I know you guys work together and stuff like that, so you can say each other, but don't be pussies and fucking don't go there. But what's who was the easiest that you ever had to work with, whether it be the 3-man team or 2-man team? Who'd you like working with the most?
Jason.
Sure. All y'all.
Oh, TJ and Scott for sure. Because that's who I worked the most with. I learned with TJ. And, we never ever had a problem running into each other or fighting over who did what. And then when Scott started with me, I think you adapt with the guys you learn with, right? And then you got to get in the arena with your dad. And then that's always, that was always fun, just making sure you didn't get your ass cussed for something, which it happened all the time, actually. The first time we did a three-man, Scott, would have been you and I and Ryan in Vancouver.
Yeah, just for the record, you got your ass fucking chewed out when that deal was
done. Okay. But now that we're on here, we whose side are you on with that?
I don't know. It was pretty intense. It was pretty intense.
Story. What happened? Let's go.
Quit stuttering, Scott. Okay, we were working the 3-man. We got to do the Bud Light Cup in Vancouver. Jerome Robinson hired us to go, which was awesome. We were standing in front of the greatest bull riders in the world, Tough and Adriano, Cody Lambert. Fournier won the event, and it was in the championship round. It went well, but that's when that third guy would stand up high along the fence, and I think it was that little brindle of Harvey's and Ace's, Short Circuit, maybe short fuse, and he bucked somebody off and threw him out to the middle, and I just come off the fence and stepped through, and might have been the second or third last of the night. And then, it was, you're done, everybody, no wrecks. We did a good job. We get in the dressing room, and then in comes the guy in the pink. Well, holy fuck. He chewed my ass. Scott didn't talk. I didn't talk. I think all I did was try to fight back tears because I hadn't been lectured I hadn't been lectured like that since I was probably 12 years old by my old man. And Scott comes up to me after, goes, "You did it. Yeah. He was going to get hooked if you didn't go through there."
I would like to take it from here, and it was a combination of things. First of all, like you said, we were on the biggest stage and fighting the biggest bull riders at that time, and I mean the 3-man system we were put up the wall for that very fucking reason. And if your dad was sitting here beside me, I would say the same thing. Jason did do the right thing. I think in the heat of the battle and the stage that we're on, maybe Unky Ryan didn't want to get showed up a little bit by these peons that were out there with him. But I don't even remember the night other than Tough Hedeman cussed me, shit his pants, and wiped his ass with my towel. I don't know. Right? So when Ryan blew through them doors, I was like, holy fuck, what is going on here? And Jason's right. He took it to heart, and I would have in the same spot too, But JD, I will give you this one. You definitely did what you were supposed to do in that situation. So I'm sure we're gonna hear the backlash on it from Nikki, but
we'll get him on here. We'll get the other side of it too. I was talking to him the other day. He's gonna come on. He wants to do it in person, so we'll light up and we'll all fucking do her up. But Jess, what about you? Who's it's not necessarily like the best that you've worked with, but just somebody or people that you jive with kind of thing, or maybe they just kind of fight that same style as you do, right? There's obviously guys that don't mix, right? Pit bulls, for sure. Like Smets talks with Miles when they first fight together, and fucking two ego men going at her and didn't do good until they figured it out, right? So Jesse, what about you?
Yeah, I think I count myself like very, very fortunate for having worked with great bullfighters like from the get-go. Obviously sprinkle in some other experiences throughout, but for the most part, I really had a great guy standing across from me every time, so it gave me that peace of mind going into things. Prior to that, being solo was a whole different ball game. But 2-man system, it's definitely Scott. Never did work with Jason. I don't think you and I ever got a chance to work together.
in Asquith in about 1996, you were the sheep fighter. Hey, you know what? Give me 2 seconds here. Give me 2 seconds.
And Jason probably cut you off then too.
That's cool.
Not bad.
Your 3-man team though, Jess, would have been like you. Everybody always talks about you, Frank, and Shorty. That was, you guys were the golden years for a long time there, right?
Yeah, we did. We had a really good trio, and oh, nice. Quality throwback. I like that photo.
Yeah. I found that right where I left it.
But yeah, I think once the 3-man system really got developed, and that's what we were constantly rolling with, each and every guy being in the action for every bull. So it wasn't so much of the third guy kind of being up the wall and there for backup kind of thing. He was always an active role with each and every person. So it took some adjusting, but definitely 3-man, Joe, Shorty, Frank, and we'd rotate through those couple of years. It was fantastic. And then, when Joe retired, it was constantly Shorty and Frank and we kind of all just brought something a little bit different to the picture, and we're able to just hone in on strictly the protection side of things. And that's where it really, I think, got specific, was nothing extra, just doing the job, being preventative, and letting the bulls be the bulls, letting the guys do their thing, and just trying to prevent a wreck. So I loved that role. That's, to me, was money.
I remember having that conversation with you, Jess, when the 3-man system went from the guy up the wall and actually 3 guys being protectors at the same time, instead of that third guy just kind of waiting it out till he had to come in. And you did say it was a tough adjustment, and like we always talk about, 1 guy, 2 guy, 3 guy, to know where not only the third guy fit in, but where the first and second guy were in that whole rotation, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the blessing and the curse all at the same time, where you can cover, more ground. You don't have to take that long shot out to get to the gap in the middle of the arena when you've got 3 guys. But at the same time, you're that much closer to one another. So you've got to, like, say, have that faith or trust in your teammate that if you switch things up, or if you roll in a certain direction, that they're going to give you the room to be able to do that sort of thing and not be crossing you up.
Do you remember who was kind of the first guy to maybe, we'll say, instigate 3 guys actually being protectors at the same time instead of waiting up the wall? Do you know who kind of initiated that?
I don't. It's a good question. I feel like my initial instinct is to say that it came from somebody's ego, not wanting to be the guy out.
Up the wall.
Yeah, you just, but it was
just like Jason.
Yeah, Jason, you started it back in Vancouver, apparently.
Yeah.
but we all know how it is. You try, you're supposed to be out and you're standing there. You can't help yourself, but it's the instinct to get in there, and so it got to the point, where it was always 3 guys getting in, and then we all of a sudden we got to the finals in Vegas World Finals. They started hiring 4 people because it was 2 arenas, and it was always supposed to be a 3-man system, and even now to this point we get into it where it's a 4-man system at times, which I'm not a fan of at all. But I think 3's plenty. But I sure had a lot of fun in 2 also with you, Scott. I mean, I feel like we had a system worked out on that 50-50 team, where it was just like, there wasn't many days where I felt like, we were put in a position where there wasn't something we could do about it.
Yeah.
We were always in range.
I agree. I was always a fan of the 2 in, 1 out, 2 in, 1 out, with the third guy, the guy out, knowing full well he was still in the party. But I just felt it was easier to know where you were, or vice versa, without that third guy floating around. But I mean, and I retired really before the three, like Tanner, when you guys work together now at our events up here, you're all in pretty much all three, hey?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're just rolling, and it does. The different guys you work with, and I know Jesse, you can attest to this. You got to adjust every time. Two men, you just fucking go, right. There's two guys, you're going all the time. There's a lot of woeing up and knowing, having trust in that other guy that he's gonna. You can see that gap, but that's not your gap to go and take, and you have to trust that your partner to be there and do it. And then, you can be tripping over each other and all that shit. So like you say, egos are a huge part of it, and who you're fighting with changes as how that 3-man system works, because it's a lot of give and take and peripherals of who's coming and who's going, right? So in that sense, it's a lot different. But when you're rolling, like Grand Prairie, I think we finally really honed in on our skills as the three of us, and it was just
that was rank.
It was just dead on, right? There was nobody having to woe up or nobody cutting anybody else off. Everybody kind of had that feel finally, and hopefully we keep that rolling. But like I say, it is different with different guys.
I kind of have a funny story. I taught a school early this spring, and we worked the 2-man system. That's the basics of it all. I had a student look at me first day, haven't fought a bull yet. He goes, "So are we going to learn how to work the 3- and 4-man system?"
I'm like, more people out here.
Yeah, I'm like, shit, man. How about we just get the 2-man system down first, and the 3 and 4 can be next year, But it does. Yeah. It gives those kids, when they watched on TV, once again, though, you guys, you make it look easy, but you got to walk before you can run, right?
Yep.
You got to walk before you can run. So
yeah, and it's communication as well, Jess, right? Communication out there, because instead of, sometimes it can go the wrong way, or somebody cuts you off, and you just got to have that conversation with your partners of like, okay, what the fuck do you want me to do out here? Are you going to do that all night? Because then I'm going to have to speak below you, come underneath, or we're going to have to figure something else out, because it's not going to work that way. Instead of just being mad at each other and not talking about it, as soon as something happens, you got to fucking figure it out.
I was going to say, or the infamous, the look across and like, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah. But it is communication, right, Jess?
Got to be on the same page. It just, like I say, it just makes it so much more difficult than it ever needs to be if somebody is operating on a different wavelength. But I think it was a great point you made, Tanner, about like, knowing when to be active and knowing when to woe up. Like the 3-man system will really show you who's got peripheral vision, like you said, because even to this day, I'll watch top level bullfighters be very situationally unaware. So to me, like I feel like one of my strongest assets is that I have good situational awareness, and I'm not going to try and engage the bull on every ride. I guarantee you that I see 0 point in that, and engaging a bull when you're on the same side or same tracks as a rider is creating difficulty. So when you're in a triangle, there's going to be constantly situations come up where the bull rider is in your lane, and you've got to have faith and trust and respect for your teammate or your teammates that they're going to engage on that offside, and then you can worry about taking them away from your teammate. So that's the key to me.
As we talked too, that's 100% well said, because we've all talked about it on here too. It's, just lots of times when you're engaging, when you're not supposed to be engaging, you're just causing that wreck, and you might look like a hero to some people because you get the fucking shit hooked out of you, but that bull rider gets hooked too. And all you had to do was just not fucking engage and let that triangle, 2 other guys do the work. And there's lots of that goes on, and we talk about that with egos as well too. That's
less is more. Less is more. I remember working the 2-man system and being concerned about my partner running over me, a couple different ones over the years. I'm not going to throw names out, but it happened, There's no need for that. It's dangerous enough out there. You don't have to worry about some guy with cleats running you over.
Yeah. Well, see, and I mean, that's to me, that's it. Less is more is has been my motto from day one, and something that I feel like I've hung on to. I still have today. But it's hard. It's hard as a bullfighter to really live that, because people don't understand it. I mean, some of the best bullfighters in the world don't even understand it. So the people that are sitting back judging on from the outside, even the bull riders making the decisions at the end of the year, don't necessarily understand that less is more at times. So it's an easy trap to fall into, that, you know, got to do more, got to be seen, got to constantly be dominating the bull. Well, I mean, for what? I don't get it. It's just like, they don't call it professional bullfighters. It's professional bull riders, and we're just the supporting act. You know, we're there to facilitate the best bull riding in the world, not to be in the spotlight. So
yeah, exactly. So they can continue on for the next weekend and the weekend after that. That should have been the priority. I always said back in the day, because I was lucky enough to have the opportunity for the Wrangler bullfights, and it was a huge opportunity. It was my segue to get in front of the CPRA bull rider. There was no PBR back then. So it was my opportunity to get in front of Glenn Keeley, Wade Joyle, Quentin Lowry, you know, Daryl Mills. And I've said it to you guys, if you guys want to do that, I'll make a call to Ryan. I'm sure he'll run one of them Mexicans in for you if that's what you want, because, you know, it's fun to, you know, play around with some, but doing it every time one sticks its head out the chute, that's overkill to me.
Well, Braden did a little bull riding here a couple weeks back, and you know, he did okay, but he said he made a round with the bull just because he had to, and then he just peeled his way out of there. His partner peeled him off him, and he come back to the chutes, and I said, "Good job," or whatever, and he goes, "Well, Dad, what do you always tell me? The best bullfighters in the world are the one you don't see out there, the smooth guy." And I'm like, "Man, you get it. That's what it's all about." That's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about it as well. Like, there is those times that you have to step around them, and you have to be able to step.
This smooth.
Oh, sorry, we froze up there. Good now?
Yep.
Okay. Yep, I agree, Scott. That's very well said. Jesse.
Well, and Tanner, to that note too, like, in this occupation, you're going to have a chance somewhere along the line to show what you're made of, and that you have brass balls and have to take a shot, or you have to, you know, get through that gap or that hole. Yeah, it'll come. But when you're creating those opportunities, I think you're doing the profession a disservice. That's how I always felt. I just, you know, and let's be honest, bull riders don't always see it the way we did as bullfighters.
No.
And you know, someone taking a hooking doesn't mean they're doing a good job. Because I saw plenty of those over the years that were completely unnecessary. So what happens if you break your leg? Then you know, especially back in the one-man system, which I'm old enough that that was part of it for probably my first 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then what do those guys do? You don't have Wade Marchand around anymore to jump off the chutes and fight the rest of the bulls for you in the section.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. You're trying to be a fucking hero, and then you wreck yourself out, and then you're done, and then you're not helping anybody and not being able to do the job that you were hired for in the first place. So, yeah, there's a time and a place, and that's gonna come to you. You don't have to fucking make that happen. Those, like you say, those times will come, and then you could prove yourself when the opportunity comes arise. But the guys that are out there looking for them and making them happen, that's not what you want to be doing. So
no, there's a place for them. It's called the BFO or the UFB.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we talking pet peeves? Is this what's happened? Because I got more.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's hear it.
That's what we got you on for.
No, but I guess honestly, but there is a time and place, and I don't know. Pet peeve number 2, I guess, if I'm on number 2, is parking your ass in the hole and getting run over on the same tracks as the bull rider. I've never understood that. Like, that's kind of all in line with what we're talking about. it's like you stop on the same tracks as the rider and get run over. As he gets stomped out and run over, so do you. What's the benefit?
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure, but it sure will garnish some attention. And then beyond that, it's a bullfighter that will, after a bull riding's over, or after, you know, a guy doesn't hang up, they'll be disappointed that they didn't get to do more work.
Oh
And
my
I-
God, yeah.
You know, well, I've seen it at all levels, and it's just like, are you kidding me? Like I don't know if I'm the one that's crazy, but I'm out here cheering for the riders to stay on and for everybody to just get off
Walk
on
up.
their feet and
Yeah.
high five me on the way by, and we'll call it
Yeah.
a night.
Yeah, I never ever minded a performance where all I did was pick up bull ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, it paid all right, you know, per rope. Some days it worked out pretty good, especially out in Morris when there's only 4 guys and you're picking up that $400 perf check, right? $100
For the-
per rope.
For the
Hungover
30
as fuck.
for the 30 seconds you weren't drunk. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that was shit.
Well, I wasn't
that's
going
it.
that far. I wasn't going that far.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That all kind of fits in the same line of what, you know, right and wrong. It's fucking very simple.
Those guys you're talking about, Jesse, too, you wanted to throat punch them at the time, but really their career never really went anywhere either. You know, you can't sulk and feel sorry for yourself because you're not the fucking hero. Get out there and be a team member and do the job. And those guys usually, they sorted themselves out and the good guys rose to the top. So
Yeah, that was always one thing that you know, in the schools that I have done, it's just like right off the bat, let's get this straight. This is a job that should be done for the right reasons, because, well, we all know what can come with it. So if you're doing it for a reason like that, I really don't think that the reward you're looking for is going to be there, and quite often the consequence shows up, like you say.
sure.
100%. Okay, well, we'll get to Rob's interview here right away. We're running long, but when you got a guy like Jesse Byrne joining the intro, god
Yeah,
dang,
that's right. That's right.
That's right. He's got a fucking ripper. A couple updates on the weekend. Cooper Davis takes the event win. Where were they at this weekend? Omaha, Nebraska.
They
Correct?
were, yeah.
Yeah. Cooper Davis, boom, big win. He's back in the game. Gets hot again.
And had to ride his ass off too.
Yep. 100%.
Like, don't go by me. That
Yeah.
looked like a lot of work.
Yeah, he was doing it. When he's hot, fuck, he's rolling. I'm proud of Cooper this year. He's gonna make a good run for that world title against guys like Kaique Pacheco and Jose Vitor Leme, who does some work again this weekend, sticks it on a few. I'm Legit too, ended up being the bull of the event with the high score of the event. Moves himself into number 1 in the world. Jose does again. So back in familiar territory. Be a good race between those top guys this year. That's for sure. Red Clark gets his butt rode. Finally, his unridden streak is over. So we'll see how he bounces back. Jeremy Walker had a thing on there about how the best ones usually come back better after they get rode. So Billings is his next out. So we'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on that, see how that bull handles getting rode for the first time. But a guy like Denner Barbosa, I wanted to touch on that. He rides a bull like Red Clark. It's never been rode. I watched that guy ride Stone Sober. He rides fucking Talking Smack the other weekend. That's kind of how fucked up the judging system is. That guy's rode the hardest bulls in the world, best rides. He doesn't have great style. He doesn't look good on the back of them and just flies under the radar. But that guy is unreal. He's in the world title race now. Probably won't win because of that riding style that he has. He'll stay on more, but he's not going to be as many points. But fucking hats off to that guy. Holy man, he can ride bulls.
Well, if you stay on enough of them, they're going to have to give you the buckle.
Yeah. Like, and not the easy ones, right, Jess? You've seen it over the years.
Yeah, you're right, Tanner. Like he's definitely flying under the radar because he's not a guy I would have brought up in that conversation of world champion. But like you say, those bulls that he's knocked down and put scores up on the board, it's just like something that only a world champion would do. So you know, I think by all means he's got it in him. He he runs that free arm down a little lower than them other guys, and it doesn't, come with the Hail Marys maybe to really show out, but damn sure full of talent. It's crazy.
Yeah. Such a
He's
good
got
guy.
to start. He's got to start kicking his helmet. I'm telling you.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
kick his helmet?
Yeah, he's taking a page out of his book, man. It's happening.
That's gold. Yeah, so keep an eye on that guy, the sleeper that'll be the upset for the world title race, whether it's helping a guy or winning his own, or being that guy that is in the mix to throw some points in there that might defy Cooper or Jose being one or two, so he's always going to be in the mix. It's such a good bull rider. But what's next, Jess? Billings is next this is the weekend off this weekend, and then Billings.
Yeah, Billings is the next one. I think that is there a 15-15 there as well? I think it's a big week for the boys. Six bulls possibly in 3 days. So
some Canadian bulls too.
Yeah,
some Canadian bulls going down.
Yeah, Nanson's rolling down there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And for those that are listening in, Jess, where are you at on your scheduling? People have been wondering, you were going to come back, the border, this COVID situation, Canadian stuff's kind of messing with everybody, but what's your plans here now?
Breaking news as of today, I'm no longer going to be in Billings. So that was I was hopeful to return for that, but I just haven't been able to get everything lined out to make the move across the line and get back to work in the US. So I think it'll be as of now, the next one on the UTV schedule will be June in Las Vegas. So looks like that'll probably be my return south. So
because I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but say June, you got paperwork, whatever you need to get down there. Is there a point where you'll have to just quarantine and stay down there for a length of time, or is that kind of what's going to play out here?
Yeah, it's possible for sure. Like if I guess regulations stay the way they are as they stand today, that I'll probably end up going down and staying down. And that would probably be more like in August, because there's just the one in June so far, and then Cheyenne, I believe, in July. So it'll probably be single trips to both of those events, and then a quarantine, and then maybe the schedule remains the same, go in August, and then we can make a 6 or 8 week run out of it kind of thing to get towards the end of the season.
Beauty. So you're still kicking then, is what you're saying. Look out, he's coming back, baby.
Still kicking, just at home studying, doing my homework.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, good.
Get the body fresh.
We enjoy having you on here whenever we can get you on, but we'll enjoy it more when we're watching you do your job on TV. So we appreciate you coming back on, and like I said, we'll be fucking cheering you on once you get back going down there. We're all looking forward to that.
Good. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah. With that, we'll go to our interview with Rob Smets. But first, breaking news, everybody. This important public service announcement is brought to you by manscaped.com. This is your pubic service announcement. And the news you've all been waiting for. The Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is now available for purchase. There you go, Scott, in the USA and Canada. This new trimmer was just released only moments ago, and we are one of the first to get our hands on it and share the news. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code NFP20 at manscaped.com. So Scott, you showed it there for our YouTube listeners, the 4.0, the newest trimmer. We're one of the first people to have this. And It's unreal. Yeah, the 3.0 was good. Look out, here comes the 4.0. The advanced ceramic blade and skin-safe technology is so good that it almost seems as if Manscaped worked with Elon Musk's engineers to ensure your testes are as safe as possible.
The LT tells us that it even gets through the red ones, which we know they're a little bit more coarse.
Yeah, they're pretty coarse. Yeah, pretty afro-like. So yeah.
I tell you what, Manscaped's getting so good. The next one is going to be able to do it itself. Like you'll just cut it loose, and
it's like that. It's like that vacuum cleaner you turn on and it just drives around. It's just going to be it's going to be a little disc that you start right at your belly button and just hit a button.
Just let it roll.
Yeah.
What makes this trimmer different than all the other trimmers? A new multi-function on-off switch can engage a travel lock created for people who like to travel, so it won't go off in your bag. Like when you're going through the airport and you hear people's bags fucking vibrating, mostly women, and they're traveling their vibrators maybe or something. And that won't happen.
Something. What else could it be? What else would it be? They got a vibrating deodorant?
The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for precise shaves. Scott, I know you're a fan of that one. You like to talk about that, so that's good. You can do it in the water and in the dark. We're good. The new trimmer even allows you to customize your trim all over through additional guard lengths, sizes 1 through 4. So you don't have to go bald. You can fucking dangle it out the length that you want. It's like we'll have Douglas Duncan on here in a week or so, and he always has that perfectly trimmed beard. So you can do that now with Manscaped for down below as well. So you're good to go. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code NFP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code NFP20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Hey, Jason, wow. you could like shave your favorite hockey player's number in your ball sack.
In my ball sack? No.
Well, wherever you want.
No, they're all 2-digit numbers. That's too much work.
There you go.
That's gold. Okay. Jess, once again, we appreciate you coming on. If you'd come on to our bullfighting ones every time, that'd be great. I love the insights from the guy at the very highest level and the top of the game, and who we consider the best to put on the cleats. So we'll bring you back for these ones if you're into it. Yeah, I got all sorts of questions on voting systems and all different shit that I'd love to pick your brain on that a lot of people have no idea goes on behind the scenes with bullfighting. So everybody stay tuned for future ones that are coming up here hopefully soon. So with that, we're going to go to the 5-time champion of the world, the man with probably the craziest stories that you can come along with a lifetime of bullfighting spanning generations and generations. Without further ado, here is our interview with Rob Smets. Our guest today is one of the greatest bullfighters to ever walk the face of the planet. Selected 6 times to fight the NFR, 9 times to the PBR World Finals, and a 5-time champion of the world. One of my idols, the Kamikaze Kid, Rob Smets. Rob, how you doing today? Thanks for coming on the NFP podcast.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Just the warm-up's been fun.
That's good.
One of your idols, man. Are you even old enough to say that?
You're damn right, dude, because I'm telling you, I didn't grow up watching celebrities on TV. I grew up watching the Wrangler bullfights and Rob Smets, Miles Hare, Skipper Voss, Rick Chapman, Rex Dunn, Steve Mowry. Those were my celebrity heroes, so
those old VHSs, those old VHSs got worn out because Zach Oakes and Joe Oakes, Dave Oakes' boys, they used to live around the corner from me, and I would always take them NFR videos and stuff, and Dave would call me on the phone and he'd go, "They've worn another tape out. Give me a new tape." Them boys know where the bull's going to be before he even gets there on the tape. They've watched it so much.
That was the same as
those old
us.
VHS Wrangler bullfight tapes. They were pretty good babysitters.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. So what's going on now, Rob? We'll get back into your history and your career and everything else. But what's been keeping you busy these days?
Well, what's going on now is I work for the World Champion Rodeo Alliance. My job is alliance relations. I talk to different associations and producers that are putting on events so that we put on our first big major event of this year is going to be Rodeo Corpus Christi next week.
Yep.
And we put on 3 major events in this scheduled for this year. If you happen to win 3 of our majors in a row, there's $1 million bonus.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
So now if you were to win 3 in a row and I were to win 3 in a row, then it's much like the American. We're going to split the pot.
Okay.
We each make 500,000 apiece. But if at the end of 3 in a row, I was the only one, then you're going to get the $1 million. It's a really cool deal. And the greatest thing about it is it's not just NFR Cowboy based. It's based more, I call it, for the blue collar guys.
Okay.
There's some of those guys, and we all know one somewhere that a couple of choices in life, and he's at home on the ranch, or he's at home at the farm, or he's pounding nails on the construction site, building houses, and we all know them. It's guys that have got the talent to beat anybody.
They just don't want to pound that pavement. They just don't want to
right.
go to
They don't want to
120
pound
rodeos.
the pavement, or life got in the way, and it's what they had to do, and they stepped up to the plate, and that's where they went. But yet, they can go to a Wednesday night jackpot bull riding, and then they can slip over to an open bull riding. They can go to the CCA,
Yep.
Canadian Pro Road CPRA up there. They can slide down and get into Montana there and hit a couple of NRA events there, and you can nominate at any of those events. The nomination, you earn points. So I show up there, I see what I've got drawn. I think I've got a good chance. I'm going to nominate Edmonton.
Mhm.
Edmonton's a Division I event. Well, there's more points at a Division I. They've got it broke down through Division I to Division V. Depending on the size of events, they earn points. The top 24 will earn enough points to qualify for the event after Corpus at the days of 47.
Cool.
A lot of Canadians will be trying to make that one because that's up in the right part of the country to come down over the border and qualify there. So by getting to do that, and you see guys that just come out of nowhere all of a sudden, and you go, wow, look at what happened. The Beaujolais sisters,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody thought, where'd these 2 black-haired girls come from that were at Green Bay, and they won first and second and won $150,000 and won $25,000.
Yep.
Back in, how many times over the years in their own front yard, here it is, high team back, high throw back for all the money, and they were roping that dummy. Well, it all paid off right there.
Yeah.
That one rig that they both traveled up there in left with over $75,000 in cash in a weekend.
Not
And
bad.
what was so great to me was that same year, I got to go up later to the Canadian finals, which it's been years since I've been in Canada. They've moved to Red Deer, and got up there and got to help with the Fitzpatrick's had a breakaway, all big girls breakaway roping there with the Canadian finals.
Oh, cool.
Well, let me tell you what, there's more than 2 black-haired sisters in Canada that can swing a rope. There's a whole pack of wolves up there.
Yeah.
That cool. that 403 area code is stout with breakaway rope. that Pierce girl, that's that's 13, 14 years old now, Brad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Huh? She's the goalie on the boys hockey team on the traveling squad.
Yeah.
And she rode Dad's horse that Dad broke at the ranch, no tie down, and she beat them all. And she was 13 and a half years old.
Yeah.
And
That's cool. Yeah.
And I don't mean barely get it on them. I mean drag a knot, and you can just go, wow.
Yeah, and that's probably what's the best about the WCRA now is it's getting people like that you might never have heard of if it wasn't for the WCRA. Now they're gonna be able to make a living in the sport.
Right, and it's given them an opportunity to say, you know what, I just filled my pockets. I'm entering Fort Worth. I'm entering Denver. I'm going to have the opportunity to go swing at them one time.
Yeah,
and that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So. WCRA, obviously that's rolling now. You guys are doing really great, and you got a good job with them and moving forward. But let's go back to the early days. As I talked, you are my, my idol. All you guys are my idols. So I'm just tickled here, just fired up to chat with you about it. But before the Wrangler Bullfight days, how did you get into the sport in the first place? Kind of a different background, correct?
Well, my dad did heavy construction work. I lived overseas a bunch as a kid. I lived in Thailand. I lived in Singapore. I lived in Puerto Rico. And then we lived in Australia. Well, Australia was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. My dream was to always play center field for the San Francisco Giants. Yeah. I wanted to, Willie Mays was my hero, and I wanted to play baseball. That was all I ate, slept, drank. That was it. And got on my first couple of calves as a kid over there in Australia, and we came back home, and I had the bug, about wanting to rodeo some, and started going to some junior rodeos and getting on in the calves and trying to rope, self-taught rope. No, never went to a roping school. Yeah. And so started competing in high school rodeo. Heck, I worked every event but the boys cutting in high school rodeo, trying to find what it was that was really going to work for me. Jack Roddy helped me a bunch with my bulldog, and I qualified for the state finals in the steer wrestling event. But sitting on the fence one day, why Donnie Landis, who's up there in Gooding, Idaho now, Landis, and he was working with a guy named Frank Stubby Gomes that used to work all our high school rodeos. And I just got off my bull, and I'm sitting there, get up there, hit him on the head. And I said, well, if you think it's so easy, get your ass off the fence and get on down here and show us how. And not that I did anything fantastic, but after having played rugby, played football, I boxed, contact sports. I like contact. You can thump on me a little bit. I'm okay. And so that stepping out there, and that, boy, my whole heart went to pounding, and that adrenaline rush, and a couple of near misses. And it was the wildest game of tag I'd ever played. And it was, the next year, Frank Gomes started working bigger rodeos for Danny Russell. And the thing about it was, Danny Russell Rodeo Company supplied all our bulls and bucking horses at our high school, in our high school division out there. So everything was hot. They all had an attitude like Dan Russell. And so, they would chase you around, and Bellotto Park, where I learned, was a cow pasture. It's a great big arena. There's no getting to the fence. So you had to pick it up in a hurry. And, I got to start working it and started getting paid for something we had fun doing. And, and it grew from there.
How old were you, Rob? Like what age?
I was 16 then. So I fought bulls 16. I graduated 17. I graduated right before I turned 18. My birthday's September 11th. So I graduated in June. September 11th, I turned 18. Donnie and I both went to the San Jose Firefighters Rodeo, which was the last weekend of September. I worked with Chuck Henson and Jerry Mariluch for them to watch how we maneuvered around out there. Landis worked one perf with them. I worked one perf with them. We both got our cards signed for there that day. 30 some days later, the Cow Palace in San Francisco, which the Cow Palace in the day was the rodeo. Yeah. That was where everybody came, because that was what qualified you for the NFR. Okay. And they've changed it now because of the September cutoff. But the Cow Palace always ended the first week of November. Everybody come. Well, 1977, we snuck into the Cow Palace on the night of the short round. Donnie Gay rode Oscar, and Wick Peth won the very first bullfighting contest that Cotton Rosser put on at the Cow Palace. And I was standing there with two buddies that we'd snuck in, and we were in the moat down there. And I was like, "Hey, this contest, I got to come. I'm coming here next year. This is me. I'm gonna win this son of a gun." Of course, your dreams and I'm just barely 18 years old, and I'm watching it, and it's just cooler than heck. Well, I'd had my card signed for her, so I just started chasing the dream, and I was still boxing back then, so I was running 8-9 miles a day. Yeah. Being in shape wasn't something I had to really go work at. I was there. So my wheels, and what I share with guys when we do schools now is, you can never be in too good a shape.
Yeah.
You cannot get there. When that adrenaline starts flowing, it starts draining you and stuff. And every time you do happen to get hit, which we all know that if you play this game, you're going down. It's going to take something out of those legs. And that's your wheelhouse. That's your power.
Yep.
So the next year we went to the Cow Palace, and I worked all that next year for Bob Cook, who is now Groundy Brothers Rodeo Company,
Okay.
and Cotton Rosser, and went back and forth working a bunch of their events and all up and down the California coast. So everything was right there in my wheelhouse of everybody I knew. I had a good support system and got up.
You were living in Oregon at that time?
No, I was in California. I graduated.
Okay.
I graduated high school in Salinas, California.
Okay.
And so we lived in San Martin, which is about 30 miles south of San Jose. And the Cow Palace is an hour up the road. So we got up there, and there was me, there was Miles Hare, Skipper Voss, Bob Romer, Bob Donaldson, Wick Peth, Greg Goring.
Yeah, epic.
There was a whole bunch of our legends of our sport, really good guys that have all been there, done that. So we're all in this contest. You draw somebody that night. Well, I win the first round. Bob Donaldson, who is Wick Peth's protege, says he wins the second round. And so one day we're standing there, and Mariluch had signed, like I said, Mariluch and Chuck Henson signed for my pro card.
Yeah.
And so Wick's standing there by Mariluch, and he says, right in front of my face. I mean, you want to talk about slapping the face from the king. Wick looks over at Mariluch and he says, I'll bet you my check of what I won against the check that you won, that my man beats your man.
Nice. Game on,
It's on.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Mariluch kind of looks over at me, and I'm like, take the effing bet. I was just, my motor was run out. Take the bet. So Mariluch bets him, and come the final night, we go at it. I mean, it's not like the Wrangler bullfights are now. You don't draw your own bull. We fought everything that come out, from the bucking bulls to your fighting bull.
Yeah.
And it was, if I could beat you to the hole, I beat you to the hole.
Yeah.
You know, and it was an all on game on deal. And at one point, this Bramer runs me and Donaldson both up the fence. Well, that moat fence is about 3.5 foot tall, and then it had 2 cables on the inside of the arena there at the Cow Palace. And we're both standing up on this, and this Bramer's going back and forth looking at both of us. And I mean, we're not 6 foot apart. And I just looked at Donaldson and I waved at him. I said, bye-bye. And I just jumped on him backwards.
Nice.
I ride him about a round and a half. And I mean, I've been hooked that night and everything else, but I keep getting up, and I'm not giving up. Well, lo and behold, I do win it.
Yeah.
You know, and the first thing I did was run to Wick and say, pay up. Well, it was a year before Wick Peth would talk to me.
No shit.
But that's, you know, yeah, it was a great night. And, you know, and then things have just progressed from there. But I was so blessed because guys like Wick Peth, Wick did take a liking to me, and he taught me about hopping and staying square, and working with Skipper Voss taught me how to do the step through on a chair in a dressing room in Omaha, Nebraska. You know, Jimmy Anderson, nobody was any grittier than Jimmy Anderson at Saving Cowboys. And I learned so much from Jimmy, and more so about being patient, picking your good spots, rather not just jumping. Sometimes it's better to step back that half jump, let him get by me, and then shoot in there and get the hole, which we've all learned, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looks cool and you get shot out of there, but I'm not doing any good. Any good when I'm getting shot out of there.
Yep.
Sure.
So, you know, those 3 guys spoke volumes into, I took a little here, a little here, a little here, and that's what ended up here.
Who out of all those guys that you idolized going into that early part of your career, who's the most intimidating to maybe get a chance to work with, or someone that kind of made you nervous? Who would be the guy?
Without a doubt, Wick. You know, I mean, we get to St. Paul, Oregon, and I'm at St. Paul, and we're getting ready for the bull ride. I mean, I'm jumping up and down, and boy, my breath's just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Wick walks over and sticks a finger in my chest, and he goes, "Hey, you got to breathe. Oh, and I'm just thinking it's the first time I've ever worked with him. This is the king, and I mean, it was just, yeah, you gotta breathe, he says.
Oh, that's cool. What about Miles Hare? You guys seem to always have that history of the two of you best friends, or I don't know how it all worked for you, but you guys were always seemed to be together and doing everything together, splitting world championships. Was that somebody that you look at as like your right hand man? You guys are 1-1 together.
He was, and the funny thing is, you want to talk about how things run a big full circle. 1979, I go to Louisiana for Jim Shoulders, and we go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We go to Monroe, Louisiana, and I get down there, and Miles and I, Miles had been at the Cow Palace, which I won. So I mean, he's been about that a little bit, and we were both used to being the guy that sold the show.
Yeah.
And so we get to Monroe, Louisiana, and Shoulders starts the rodeo with a bull riding, and he ends the rodeo with the bull riding, just like all Mesquite stuff or any of that, them guys that got them hooking bulls. And so the very first night, first section, it's me and Miles and John Taylor, who worked all kinds of rodeos up there in Canada.
Yeah, for sure.
And there wasn't anybody funnier than John. He was great. But we get there, and Miles and I we're both going balls to the wall on every bull, and we're hitting shoulders, and we're crossing back and forth. And Miles is 4 years older than me. He would have been 22 probably. I was like 19, and he's like, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "Well, you're the great freaking Miles Hare. Do something." I mean, all of a sudden we're nose to nose. I mean, in the arena, first night, first section, and Jim Shoulders rides up to John Taylor and he goes, "What the hell's going on up there?" And John Taylor goes, "You got two young bulls and too small a pasture." Shoulders, he comes with his horse and he rides right between us. And we back up, and he goes, "Hey, you boys want to fight? You ain't got to worry about fighting each other. I got plenty of them. Fight that bull right there." And I mean, he just sent them at us the rest of the night.
Wow.
So we get done with the first section. Miles and I go sit in the dressing room, and it's just like how you and me are right here now. We sat in our chairs just looking at each other. We didn't say it. There wasn't a goodbye, go to hell, F you, nothing. It was just, and we sat there until the next section, and then we went in and fought bulls. And so the next year, I got blessed to get hired by Bob Watt to work Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Well, Fort Worth's a war zone.
Okay.
So, back then it was 23 performances in 17 days. And I mean, it's work.
Yeah.
And Miles and I are working it together. Well, I can remember about the 13th perf, we're both going down the arena, chasing us to the back end to go pick up this fighting bull. And I remember looking over at him and going, "Will you jump this son of a bitch so we can get out of here?"
Yeah.
And that's where all of a sudden then the brotherhood became, we both, I was the first one to blink, I guess, but the blink had to come sooner or later and acknowledge, hey, it's sure nice to have somebody as talented as you. Go sell this son of a gun, get us out of here.
Yeah.
Rather, I ain't got to do it tonight. And from there we become buddies. And then in 1981, Miles won the world. I won second. 1982, I go in the lead for the world. Skipper wins the world. Miles wins second. I win third. 1983, we get halfway through the year, and we're in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And the first 3 rounds have been terrible for me. Miles wins first, I win second. Miles wins first, I win second. I mean, I say terrible. It's just I'm not beating him,
Yeah.
And it's just like, golly. So finally I look over at him. We're drinking beer that one night. And I said, "You know what? I'm going home. I'm done." And he said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "I'm done. I'm tired of winning second to you. I'm tired of playing this game. I'm going to the house. My dad's a heavy equipment operator. Mom's always been after me about come home, join the union. You'll have a retirement. All the things that I fought all my life. I just about gave up and said, 'You win.'"
Yeah.
And Miles looked across at me and he said, no. He goes, quit trying all the crazy stuff that you're doing and get back to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Well, that last night, I got around there. I win the last round. I won the next 5 bullfights in a row, and I won my first world championship in 1983.
Wow.
I remember that night that I won it, being in the dressing room, and Wick walked in and he shoved Miles and he says, "Why didn't you let him go home?"
No kidding, eh? So Rob, in your mind, you were done.
I was done.
You can tell our audience right now, in 1983, halfway through that season, you just about threw the towel in.
I just about threw it in, and you can't, and the more that I learn about this book,
yeah,
right, the Father's book and the Father's word, and walking with him, it's nowhere in that book does it say things are going to be easy. Right, but there's going to be trials all the way through it, and he's not just going to pick us out of a situation. He's going to go through it with us. He tells us in Joshua, be strong and of good courage. Do not be discouraged or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Now, granted, I graduated from Catholic boys' schools, but as far as having a relationship with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that didn't come till way later.
Okay.
I kept him. I knew there was a God, and I knew it, but man, I kept him at arm's length and at a comfortable spot. I always only wanted to talk to him when we want to be like a genie bottle and go rub him and say, hey, I need a little help. I need a little help today. But that
when you drew that cricket nose, you might have put a good word in prior to not.
Yeah. Have that, but it grew.
Yeah, and we've seen bullfighting, Rob. You were for generations, almost just about 3 complete generations. You've seen how it evolved, and I want to go back to the clown room. It's some of my greatest memories of the industry.
Or the dressing room.
I'll never forget the time spent with the greats, Liesel, Mr. Rudy Burns, yourself, the Sparks, Greg Roomer, R.I.P. pal. It was the best as a young guy coming in and listening to you guys do your smack talk,
the head games with each other.
My God. It was and Tanner's dad, he was no different,
Oh no,
he'd be teasing you.
A lot of bulls with Tanner's dad, right?
Yeah. But what do you if we go back, we talked about the Crown Royal bottle being in the dressing room, and where did you see that at its height, and what did that change for this generation or the next generation of bullfighters, do you think?
I think I saw it at its height probably about the time I was coming in.
Okay.
That old school group of bullfighters that there was probably then. And then, we've all had our wrestling matches. Yeah. I won't say I'll say I've had my wrestling match. I've been there. And I'm not too proud to say that I've done everything but stick a needle in my arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that the thing that's so tough about our sport, that unless a person has a good foundation, which I go back to the book once again, the Father tells us you got to build things on a rock, and that foundation is so important, because our life, they call it rodeo, but we're going from party to party. To party. Yeah. And if we don't have our game on, if we start losing focus and all of a sudden we find it real easy to, I'll have a beer, have 2 beers. And I never was against, there was many a night that I drank 1, maybe even 2 beers before I went and fought bulls. Yeah. I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I don't think that a beer is going to take something away from me.
Yeah.
Well, when your mentors in the room are doing it, you just want to fit in.
But that's the other part too. We don't need to just fit in. We got to stand up, because that mentors, they're mentors, but sometimes it's the wrong circle to be in too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's fun.
We've got to make it.
Yeah. Yeah. But the bullfights,
and
Rob.
Here's something I heard just the other day from a guy named Bill Williams, who's a football coach, that really struck me. So the mentors and falling in and fitting in. We fit in. Well, we're fitting in on middle ground, right?
Nope.
Remember this: the middle's as close to the bottom as it is the top.
Yeah, that's right.
And if a drop comes out of that glass, now all of a sudden we're closer to the bottom than we are the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
That guy, when he said that the other day, man, it hit me. It was like, wow. It is, because I try to tell all those guys that when they come to my bullfighting schools, I said, you know what? It's fine. You don't want to go compete in the bullfights. That's fine. But you still need to know how to handle a bull.
Sure.
That guy could be down in that arena and he's out, and you got to be able to pick him up and you got to get him down the arena. We got to get him out of there. We got to help those pickup men get a rope on him, but we got to expose our body to save what's there. And if we're running around and complete scared, which I watch so many guys now that they may say they shoot the gap, but they're shooting the gap because they've already got their spot picked right there on that G on Wrangler of where I'm going up the panel.
Yeah.
You know, right. They're not running through there in a controlled mode of feeling that I'm going to pick one up and I'm going to handle this situation. You know, they're running through there because they're running scared.
Yeah. And so, Rob, I think I've heard you talk about it too, but you hear different guys nowadays talk about how they're a protection bullfighter, they're a freestyle bullfighter. It's kind of got to where it's like two different things, right? And I've said it a bunch of times on this podcast, but you guys were bullfighters, and it didn't matter if it was freestyling or protection. It was one job, one game, correct?
Right. That's it. I feel that the freestyle part of it helped with my protection, you know, because like I said, you're hitting the holes and hitting the spots, and I'm going in there under control. But no doubt that bull riding, like I suggest all those kids going to the school, you sit there and you turn on that TV and you got to start watching. And I'm looking when that chin pops, when that arm, when they move with that free arm and that free arm gets back here because it's rotated their hips. You know, you got to start knowing. I got to know more of what the bull riding fundamentals are than my bullfighting fundamentals. Yeah, because I got to be able to see it to get there.
Yeah, and let's be honest, that Wrangler money was good back in the day. That was good cash. You know, when you guys were winning world titles, Rob, I believe, you know, in the 90s there, you'd come out of the season with 40 plus, like in the high 40s, just shy of 50,000, after the NFR.
Yeah. It was really good, you know, plus the years that I double dipped and was picked to work the NFR and work the final, you know, work the bullfights. So it was good, you know, because six of those trips I did double dip. You know,
that's awesome.
Six times, you know, fighting bulls at the finals and also during the Wrangler bullfights.
Yeah,
I bet you were glad. I bet you were glad to see day 10 come along after the freestyle bullfights.
Just watch the videos.
Oh my God!
Watch the videos. Damn right he was.
Good. Yeah, there were.
I gotta make sure our listeners know 17 times. Is that correct? Wrangler bullfight finalist, the National Finals Rodeo for Rob Smets. That's you know, a lot of careers don't even last that long, let alone 17 at the top.
And the closest to me was the other hardhead,
Miles.
Rumor.
Oh yeah.
Rumor with 11.
Wow. So you blew everybody out of the water. Okay, Rob, go back. I need to go back to the Wrangler bullfights. It's, as I said, the VHS tapes. That's what I grew up on. What were those years like? You were there from pretty much the start till they were done, I guess. And what's the best memories of just that tour and of your time within the Wrangler bullfights? World titles, but other than that, behind the scenes, all the stuff. What was so much fun about it?
Behind the scenes would be, they decided they were going to have a team bullfight. They had only one Wrangler team bullfight, and it was in Waco, Texas. And that year, Jimmy Anderson and I had worked all of Jim Scholar's rodeos together. Well, they had it figured out. They were going to put Miles Hare and Skipper Voss together as a team. They put Wick Peth and Bob Donaldson as a team. And they were going to have Leon Coffey and Mike Moore as a team. Well, Leon and Mike couldn't get out. Waco and Dallas, the Steiner's put on were the same weekend. They were at the same time. Well, the Dallas committee would not let Leon and Mike out of their contract at Dallas to come compete in that deal. And Jim Shoulders called up the guys at Wrangler and said, I've got a team that'll come down there and be in that bullfight. Well, it's me and Jimmy, right? Well, we're the long shots. Nobody, 1980. And we get down there, and I can remember every night we would be driving to the arena. We'd get dressed at the room and we'd drive to the arena. And Jimmy had that old tan Chevy pickup truck, and it was boom, 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 and another one bites the dust. And we were singing after each other and singing it loud. And we're going to beat these guys, right? And it was good. Jimmy and I had worked so many rodeos together. Like the first fighting bull that we would get, Jimmy'd make a round, I'd make a round, Jimmy'd make a round, go to the barrel, I'd make a round, run back around behind him, Jimmy'd set him, and over I'd go. Well, the next one, I'd make a round, Jimmy'd make a round, I'd make a round, go to the barrel, Jimmy'd make a round, get back, and we just kept switching back and forth. But we jumped everything we fought. Skipper, he was so mad. So we win the first night, we win the second night, we win all 4 nights of this deal. Yeah. And Skipper, he looks over, they're giving him points just for damn jumping. So the one deal, Miles is rolling the barrel. This bull's hitting the barrel. Skipper's getting on. He starts coming running at it. Miles later, no! Miles wouldn't even let him try it. It was funnier than heck. And then, like you said, the dressing rooms, the stuff afterwards, the sharing and the buddies and giving each other the ribbons about, he cut you off, and
in those dressing rooms, Rob, was there any real beefs or some throwdowns that happened after that you recall or that you can tell us?
Not real. There was the only real beef was me and Rumor at Pampa, Texas, outside behind the buck and shoots, and Rumor hadn't been beat all year long, and I got ahead of him. I'm doing really good there, and Rumor's mad. He's hollering at judges and hollering at everybody, and they're going back and forth. And him and I start having words. And, I said, "Well, we'll do whatever we got to do." I mean, we both had boxed some, and words were going back and forth there to the point that Benny Butler comes running back there with the big old Doran camp saying, "Hey, they're getting ready to ride bareback horses," because we started with the bullfight and then they were going to end with the bullfight. And the people in the grandstands, they're not watching the bucking horses. They're watching me and Rumor hollering and screaming at each other. Then he comes running back there and he's giving us hell. And I said, "Benny, the only reason you're mad is you thought you were going to miss it." And he just shook his head. He said, "Smets, Unfortunately, it never got to that point. In fact, later that year, we get to the finals, and they would always have a keg in the back room and by the showers in there, and guys would come out of the Justin Sports Medicine room or whatever and have a cold beer. And after it was over that one night, Rumor and I sat down there till everybody left the damn dressing room. Right. And the two of us sat there and drank cold beer together.
Yeah.
So and every time I drive by out there at Cranfield's Gap where they lost Rumor, I say, "Hello, Rumor."
Yeah.
How you doing today?
Yeah. The camaraderie, the brotherhood within it. Yeah.
That camaraderie, you can't beat it. And it's the same thing with me and Miles. That year in 1988 when it came down to that last bull, and we end up dollar for dollar, penny for penny tied.
Yep.
And Miles, when from the years of working Fort Worth, Miles took gymnastics back when he was young, and I would always get introduced first, and then Miles would get introduced, and I would put your hands together, and he'd step up in there, and I'd flip him, and he'd do that back flip, and he'd do his little deal, Yeah. So when it came out as a tie, well, there was one good bull in the refights, and there was one sorry son of a buck back there. So basically, they said, "Well, what are you guys going to do?" And Miles said, "Well, have you got more money for this extra round we're going to fight?" Well, Wrangler, no, we didn't think anything about it. And I said, "So you basically want us to flip a coin for the world title because one's going to get a good one and one's going to get this other one?"
Yeah.
And I looked over at Miles and I said, "Hey, cocky," and I put my hands together like this. And Miles, I say we just should split the world. and Miles stepped in my hand and he did the backflip, and tipped his hat. And we grabbed each other by the wrists and started off on our victory lap around the Thomas and Mack, and looked back at Greg Tuesday and said, "Make another buckle."
Yeah.
and that's how it ended up. And Wrangler it ended up as the co-world champions. And, I can't think of a guy that's been meant more in my career than Miles. Although, like I said, not taking any Jimmy, Skipper, and Wick.
Yep.
And Miles, those four right there spoke volumes into me. I was blessed for their friendship and just to be with them.
Wow, that's amazing. So then you like Jason said, your longevity, it's unmatched in the sport. You went through all these generations, and then we're right with the PBR right from the get-go, correct?
Yes, sir. So
what did you see in those years and up to now, even the transitions of bullfighting, the transitions of the sport? How has it kind of changed over the years for you?
The bullfighting, obviously, there were certain bulls that we would set that third guy out up the fence line a ways. He wasn't really considered in, like. Yep. But there were a couple of those bulls that we all knew was bad about throwing somebody out that high side, just to be able to be there to make him pop his head up to help those two. But you really didn't go work like they work the three guys now. The thing that I see about working three guys all at once, I see some awful nice picks, but I sure don't see guys going through the gap anymore.
Right.
And I feel it is that way because I'm worried about I'm going through. I'm going to run into Jason.
Yep.
We're gonna get in a bind, and it started a lot of getting there but stopping. And I just think that it's better. I like the two guy formation.
Yep. And you would have fought by yourself tons of times as well, right? Up the get-go.
Back when I first started out, that was still just a one bullfighter rule, and lots of places.
Yeah, that come in my generation, the two bullfighter.
Yeah. Right.
It wasn't even my first pro rodeos. You didn't have to have two bullfighters, so that'd be like 93-ish. I don't know if the PRCA and the CPRA were aligned with that, but it would have been the early 90s, I would guess, that two bullfighter.
And then the best finals that I ever worked. Now I'm going to pull on your shirts. 1980. I worked the Canadian National Finals Rodeo.
Yeah.
I came up to Canada. Wayne Bull brought me up there. I worked Red Deer and all those good rodeos that he had.
Yeah.
And the best part was I had Iris Glass, Tommy Glass's mom, likened to me at Pinoca. And she said, "Tommy, take this bullfighter out and teach him how to outride." And so I ran with a pretty mild crowd up there too. Doug Vold, Billy Blacklock,
yes,
Jim Solberg, Robin Burwash, and Jordy Thompson.
Oh my
God. So it was a pretty mild.
That explains.
Doug Vold. So yeah, we had a pretty good crew and Daryl Collins.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of guys don't know that Collins. You want to talk about a guy that was a hand, ride bareback horses and ride bulls.
Yeah.
Daryl was plenty handy.
Wow. Is it true, Rob, that you were the first one to go away from the baggies and the way that the bullfighters dress now with the jerseys and sponsor logos and stuff on? Or were you the first guy to do that?
I was the first one. They talked about it a little bit. And the PBR had a group from back east that kind of designed some stuff, and it was looked like spaceship type stuff. And Carlisle said, "I'm not wearing that." And so we sat down with a buddy and started just drawing it out. And Teresa Underdown was agenting me at the time, and she brokered a deal with CarQuest and ASE. Mm-hmm. And so I waited all the way. We got it all suited out. And at the 2000 PBR finals in Vegas, I waited. I let everybody get dressed. I just kind of drag it in the dressing room. I didn't even let them see it until I hit the arena, and then and cracked it out right there. And so I wore CarQuest ASE all that first year, and then the PBR really saw how valuable it was, and then they came on board with Carhartt, and then Dickies. You know, I mean, they were blessed in it, and it's helped increase the pay for the bullfighters.
Yeah. What did the other guys think about it, or the older generation? Was anybody pissed off about it, or?
But I had a lot of guys say, "Oh, you're breaking tradition. You're breaking tradition." I said, "No, we're not breaking tradition. This bull riding is its own new event, and we're setting tradition."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not a rodeo clown at this event.
Yeah.
I'm a bullfighter. I'm an athlete.
Yep. Did you ever have to do any of the clowning? Like back in the day, I remember it was kind of one thing. Did you ever do any of that?
I did some, Donnie, like I said, I'm working with Donnie Landis on several occasions. Landis always had some really good acts, but it sure sucks when you get out there and the bomb don't go off when it's supposed to. And unfortunately, we all know, and it's going to happen no matter how good they are. It happens.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just was something I never felt comfortable with. If I had to go do it, I would go do it. You know, I mean, I'll bail in there and help you with your act. But for me to go to a rodeo and say, "Hey, I'm going to be your funny man," But I was able to say, "You know what? You hire me to come fight bulls, I won't tear your fence down."
Yeah, I'll jump 10 of them.
Scott and I had to work for. Scott and I had to do Kelly Lacoste acts, and you didn't want to mess any of those up.
No.
Well, and there you go, Kelly Lacoste. So 1980, when I worked my first Canadian finals, it was with Kelly Lacoste.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a big, strong, tough coon ass.
Oh man,
coon ass Canadian mix. But hey, Kelly was good to me. I mean, great guy. I worked Regina with him, and really good man.
Yeah, my dad talks very, very highly of Kelly Lacoste too, helping
very,
him get
very highly.
started.
So I've worked I've been blessed to have worked every major rodeo in my career, but the Houston Astrodome and the Calgary Stampede.
Oh,
you never got to Calgary, eh?
I never got to Calgary because Winston Bruce held a grudge out over me over a joke that I told at Edmonton that year, back when Calgary was Team Rodeo.
Yep.
Right.
They were Team Rodeo there in 1980, 79, 80, 81, right there. And they had all the teams. So they amateur, you know, and that was back when all of us were very proud of those PRCA cards and CPRA card, right? We're the pros. We're not the amis, you know? So Keith Highland, who was the president of the Canadian Pro Rodeo Association at the time, come and give me this joke and said, "Smets, you tell this joke, you'll have all of our rodeos." So I don't know much about all the rivalry up there at that time. It was a first night I'm up there, and I tell this story of this old Iranian man. He's got 3 sons, and said he knows he's going to pass away. He calls in his first and oldest son and asks him what he'd like, and he says, "I'd like a house with a lot of land." The father says, "Okay, that's good. I'll take care of it." The second son comes in and he says, "What would you like?" And he says, "Well, I'd like a ship and a crew. I want to go around the world." Dad says, "Okay, that's all right. And I want you to remember, Tallman's announcing this."
Yeah.
Tallman's going right along. Tallman's going right along with me. And Harry Vold, Bar HV, and Wayne are sitting on the bucket chutes, and they still take stock to they're taking stock to Calgary and all that. And Tallman's working Calgary, even all this is going on. So I'm going on. And I said, "Well, the third and youngest son come in." And he says, "What would you like?" And he said, "I'd like a Mickey Mouse outfit." So his dad bought him the Calgary Stampede. Hey, Harry Vold and Wayne go, "Oh, Tallman goes, he bought him Tallman caught himself. Winston comes down out of the stands and grabs Harry and Wayne up and says, "That joke won't get told again." I mean,
oh man. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I wrote my death sentence at the Calgary Stampede.
Oh, that's a great story. Wow.
I want to back up a little bit back to the Wrangler bullfights and stuff. And I know we've discussed this on previous pods, but when you watch those VHS tapes, those high horn, big purple people eater, crooked nose, that whole set of bulls,
And Servy had a whole pen of them too. Those Sloan Williams, them great big brindles that were all S58 and S400, 200, and all those. Those all come from Sloan Williams and Gerald Smith down here out of South Texas. He had a big pen of them too.
Right. So my question is, if you had a choice, like we all talk about the Mexicans nowadays and how fast they are, how catty they are, but man, I get goosebumps still when I watch those VHS tapes, those big high horn, high headed, you guys working them like you did. It was amazing. But what would you say, in your opinion, is the harder of the two breeds to fight?
I think for myself, I like the Mexicans because I liked how they brought it to me.
Yeah.
You know, and for the way that I fought bulls with working off that misdirection and stuff and being able to throw the fake, set them over there and do the step through and stuff, and them keep it coming. Those old brindles, you get a fake or two on them and they start, they start wanting to trot up instead of, the bull. Two animals in my career that I have seen that love the game. Number one, without a shadow of a doubt, Crooked Nose.
Oh yeah,
that bull loved the game with all of his heart. And when you really watching his career, you never saw him just maul somebody. He would hook him, and if you hooked him and threw him out in front of him, he'd hook you again. But he'd hook you and run on, and then he'd go by you by about 15, 20 feet and whirl around, and that head would pop up, and it'd be like, okay, come on, get up. You want some more,
Try to keep your feet planted and not move until he got a little closer.
Right. He wasn't one of them old ones that just mauled you and just really, And then the other animal that I saw that really loved the game is a team roping horse. Michael Jones let me ride his horse one night at they call it the Buck and Duck here in Stephenville. And that horse Jackal, who Michael Jones rode, Corey Kuntz rode, Alan Bach rode, a whole bunch of them guys all rode him, and what a great horse. But so the one night we're at the Buck and Duck, and I ride on the heel box side, and we're going to score one, and I ride in there, and I'm kind of sitting there half loose. When this gate bangs, buddy, let me tell you what, it's like a rocket ship. This buckskin just takes off out of there, and I don't care how hard you're pulling on his face, he's not backing off. And Michael Jones, he starts laughing at me as I'm coming back down the arena. He goes, I forgot to tell you, he doesn't score. But that horse just loved the game. He would just run down the arena, and as soon as they turned left, he was there. But boy, he just was so cool to get to ride. It was fun. But Crooked Nose, of all the animals I ever saw, that's the greatest. And then I'll go ahead without you even asking the question. The greatest bull rider I ever saw was Jim Sharp.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That name's come up on several of our pods too, Rob, and this generation of guys. Cooper Davis had mentioned that. Colton Jesse. So it's guys that are watching video. They didn't get to see Jim ride in person.
I was blessed to go into the PRCA Hall of Fame. The same Jim and I went in the same year. Mm-hmm. And when I was giving my speech, I said, you know what, I've been asked this question and I'm going to just answer it right here today. And I said, the greatest I've ever seen sits right behind me at the moment. I said, now before you pick up those cell phones and you start calling that short squatty guy in Mesquite, Texas and get him all fired up, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
There's a reason he has 8 gold buckles, because you tell Donnie Gay he can't, and he will pull it tighter and bear down harder than anybody in the business.
Yep.
But the reason the guy behind me doesn't have more gold buckles is because he made it look too easy. He rode him with such finesse, and they never got him in storms, that rodeos that guys were winning the rodeo on that bull, Sharp would win 3rd or 4th because he's never got moved off his
too easy.
He was in such control that they'd go, well, the bull didn't have his day.
Right. The officials didn't know how to give you 2 points over your bull.
Yeah.
Yeah. They needed to give him 2 points over his bull every time. Every time.
That's gold. So Rob, greatest career probably ever for a bullfighter. You'll go down as probably the best, right? So without the ups, there's the downs, and 3 broken necks, many of injuries. What kept you going after, how old were you when you retired? Were you in your 40s?
46.
46 when you retired. So that's, now thinking about that.
broke my neck the third time. I was 46.
Third time. So what kept bringing you back after even the second broken neck, and have won everything? You've done everything that you could do in the sport. What kept you coming back?
It's what I did. It's what I loved. You know, I mean, if I could ask my Lord and Savior to take me out, and He was to say, Rob, pick your spot, go get me a set of cleats, and you take me out right out there in the middle.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fixing to be 62 years old. And if He was to ask me today, go find me a set of cleats and go take me somewhere and let's go play. Let's go out right there. And that'd be my choice even today.
Oh,
cool.
Yep.
And let's be honest, that union job wasn't looking very good at that point at 40 anyway, right?
No, it wasn't. You know, but I mean, I was blessed to play a game I loved with all my heart.
Yeah.
And when it's something that we love, as all four of us know, it ain't work.
Yep.
You know, and fortunately, we're getting to do a job where we're taking care of our buddies.
Yeah.
You know, and that head nod, you know what was the status, as you talked about me and Miles, there were nights at the NFR that one of us would make a mistake and nothing ever had to be said. All we had to do was happen to look up and make eye contact.
Yeah.
That was enough. Huh? Nobody, you didn't have to say, I'm sorry. You didn't have to say, you may, you know, or if it was me getting to say to him, you dropped the ball there. That stuff never got said.
Yeah.
You know, because we both knew that if somebody was going to get carried out, we just assumed it'd be us than anybody else, you know?
Yeah.
And the toughest thing about being a bullfighter is you're expected to be a machine. You're expected to be a machine. And we all know the first question that's ever asked when they say somebody got hurt at a rodeo was, who was the bullfighter?
Who's fighting bulls? Yeah.
Sure.
Who's fighting bulls?
Yeah.
Right. And yet in Tough Heat'em, we'll use Tough's case on Bodacious. All the damage was done. All the damage was done before he hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't matter who was fighting bulls. You couldn't protect him.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, and we've all been put in that kind of a circumstance. That Lane Frost at Cheyenne, you can't point a finger at Bob Romer and Rick Chapman.
Yeah.
Lane Frost got off into his hand in the well.
Into the well.
He didn't wait for him to set the pick to get him out of there.
Well, and our friend Glenn Keeley, you know, when you land on your back and a bull that size comes to, you can't, there's risks in bull riding.
There's risks. It's dangerous. And yes, we have some protective gear, but that protective gear does not make us Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know?
And I think our side of it too, the mental health side of it is, you say that to yourself as well. When somebody gets hurt, like, what the fuck could I have done better?
Right.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and there's sometimes there isn't nothing you could have done to prevent it, but that sticks in your head too. And
but the biggest thing we got to remember, too, is it's just like the football game and being a cornerback that just got burnt for the touchdown. I got to know what I did wrong. I got to acknowledge it. I got to clear the mechanism, and I got to get ready, because that next guy's fixing to nod his head, and I'm fixing to get stuck in here we are, we're standing on a street corner waiting for a wreck, and then we're going to jump in. The bad thing about it is we don't ever know how bad the wreck's going to be.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Plan for the worst, hope for the best. And with a little luck, we end up somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I always tell students at schools that I teach, is if there is a wreck and you know in your heart that you didn't do 110%, fix it, roll on, because there's 20 more guys about to nod their head.
That's
right?
it, right there.
Play in the now. You can't dwell on what happened in the past.
So, Rob, was it tough? Speaking of like the mental health side of it, a guy like you that loved this sport and you still talk about how much you love it and would do it today. A lot of guys have a lot of trouble transitioning to a regular life. For you, when you gave 46 years of your life to bullfighting, what was that switch over like into reality? Was there some tough times?
It is tough. You know, I mean, for the first several years, I couldn't even turn the PBR on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to watch, especially on nights where somebody makes it, you're like, oh, you made a mistake right there. It's like I said, who was a bullfighter? Well, you're on the point, but it's like, whoa. And it just stole my piece. The best thing that happened to me was it opened the door for me having wore the microphone to get an opportunity to do some co-announcing and some color commentary work and stuff. Yeah. And I've done quite a bit of it. I did quite a bit of that. And then So, well, obviously last year I didn't even work a rodeo. And the biggest blessing for me has been getting to be part of this WCRA and getting back around rodeo and around cowboys and around what we know and love.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that we've give so much of our life and time to, that it's really good to be part of this.
When you see so many guys, when they're done, and you don't see them again. And it's unfortunate. And speaking for three of us, Tanner's still involved now as a bullfighter, but Scott's involved. I get to be involved. Rob, you're involved, and it's an easier transition, I find, that way, when you can still see those guys that you spent every weekend, 30
Right.
weeks a year, right?
Yep.
So
well, let's be
I don't
honest.
even know.
It fills the addiction. I mean,
lifestyle, yeah.
Right.
We're lucky that way.
Yeah, but we're all fighting to stay up past 11.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And not in the morning this time.
Yeah.
Oh man, Rob, we could pick your brain for days.
It's been good, but there's a lot of guys that you see they get lost, and it's easy, they get depressed. They're going through things it's they're not used to, and that's coming from the book too. The Father wants us to be encouragers, we need to keep our eyes out for each other, and to see the one with sad eyes, and to be saying, hey, what's going on? Talk to me a little bit. So let's, and we all know people like that.
Yep.
Right.
They're out there. We need to make the time to pick up this phone and call. And I don't do as much of it as I should. I get to share. I try to share every morning on my Facebook page at 7:15 Central Time on my Rob Smets fan page.
Yep.
And I get up in the mornings and read, from my Bible and some from my daily devotionals, and try to see what the Father puts on my heart to try to share. And I'll go, 5-10 minutes and give some people some time to share. And I end up with guys like John Brogan on here and Damon Rogers.
Oh, John
I'll see
Brogan.
there'll be guys that pop up that are some old school guys, and you go, it's sure good. And a whole group of guys that not only with Rob Smets, but that are coming on, joining the page. You would have gone 20 years ago, if they'd have said, we're going to get up at 7:15 to listen to somebody talk about Jesus Christ, they'd all said, you're crazier than hell.
Was John one of your guys, Rob? Was John John Brogan one of your guys?
John Brogan and Frank Newsom come on together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was there in Sikeston, Missouri when John got that scar on his neck. I was fighting bulls with him there.
John Brogan was a ham.
Scary shit. It was
John
scary
Brogan was a
stuff.
ham. Frank Newsom's probably I can't say that because Jesse's got plenty of game and bails in the middle of stuff too. But I was about to say, because Frank's just about the last of the old school.
Dive up in there.
Well, he's been around. He's been at it long enough to be the old
warrior.
School.
Yeah.
A warrior.
And he's been there. You want to talk about a guy that he's wrestled his demons.
Yep.
He came out, saw the light at the tunnel, and come out the other side, and has done remarkable.
Yeah, from being absolutely nowhere to coming back to be, one of the best.
Well, you want to talk about from going and he went to the top of the mountain. He went way down in the valley.
Way down. Yep.
And then
got her back
because of his love of the game and his dedication. He just kept coming back, and now he's on the top of the mountain again. So that's what's good. It's to be able to share with my friends and to let them know that, what, no matter what we've done, we all can be forgiven. All we got to do is turn it around.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow, man. Wow. This has been unreal. I know we can keep you for 6 days. We do this is our bullfighting Cowboy Protection episode here. Our last one was with Jesse, so it was a huge honor to get you onto this one. So we'll have to get you back, maybe along with my dad, and we got to get Miles hair.
Dad, Miles, and we'd have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh, I bet, yeah. So
you know who else would be good to have on that group too? Dusty Tuckness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know Dusty all that well, but yeah, that'd be good.
I worked with his dad a lot in Montana.
Tuck would be all right.
I never worked around Dusty either.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we'll keep these going,
because he's definitely of the new era, that new era. But kind of the senior member of that new era, but
Yeah.
he's all game.
All game.
That's another true warrior, no doubt.
Yep. Scott, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I have one last question, Rob. When this pod airs and the 16-year-old kid is been debating about being a bullfighter, becoming a bullfighter, what advice, in all your wisdom and the miles you've made and the wrecks and whatever, what advice do you give to a young kid first and foremost, whether it's mental, physical? What would it be?
The biggest advice I'm going to give you is you need to find a good school.
Mm-hmm.
Get to a good school, somebody that knows what they're talking about. That has the livestock for you to go to. And I think it's really important by having some of those heifers, like Miles and I try to make sure we've got some heifers, some young bulls. You got it. It's like the boxing game. I can't stick you in there with Ali and get your head knocked off and expect you for this to keep pounding with desire. You've got to set them up for victory. And so while I got to make sure I've got the right quality livestock and that they pick the right school, the most important thing is you have to show up in shape. Right. Because if I take a school and I have 20 guys in that school and we've all been there, at the end of the first day, there may be 10 of them left that want to fight bulls. Now there's 2 more days of school that you paid money for. You got the wheels under you to get through it?
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise you're just wasting your money.
Yep.
And if you want to gain from this, you're going to come here. We're going to teach you the proper set of fundamentals. And there are some guys that I have seen that at the end of 3 days have the talent to go play. Mm-hmm. But to think that you're just going to come to a school and at the end of 3 days, I'm going to sign for your pro card, you better think again.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
And you got it because you guys are sitting at the house drinking a cold beer and you watch Frank and Jesse and Shorty and, watch them guys running around out there at the PBR. Well, they make it look pretty damn easy. Yeah. But
because they're the best.
But
a lifetime of work. Yeah. Lifetime
because
of work.
they're the best and they've got damn near 20 years apiece under their belts.
Yeah.
It doesn't just come easy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Cool.
Rob, hey, Rob. I got one more. I got one more. I do. I got one more question. And because I had this picture cut out and on my wall at one time, and I don't know what, everybody's got one of their favorite images or whatever, but I'm going to go, it was a Karen Martin photo. I believe you're in Cali somewhere. You're fighting a red Mexican.
It's at Salinas with his tail cracked up over his back.
Iconic photo. You got a big one of those hanging in your house?
I've got them. Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, it's just
that one, and then I've got a really cool picture that Gustafson took of me fighting Crooked Nose.
Yep.
At Colorado Springs.
Okay.
That's a cool picture. Unfortunately, I'm gonna brag one time.
Yes,
the only man that jumped Crooked Nose over the barrel.
Yep.
That guy.
Rob Smets.
In a Wrangler bullfight with nobody setting it myself.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. The timing, everything's got, the stars got to line up for that to work on that.
And the thing about it was, I told Harry Vold that day, I said, get you a good, how Harry, they always used to have him seats made on his bucking chutes.
Yeah.
And I said, you make sure you got you a good seat today and don't fall out of that chair. I'm going over that one-horned bull. Oh, he said, you can't do that. I said, you just watch. I got him. Prescott, Arizona.
Oh, that's cool. That right there really segues into our infamous question for the show. What that means. So Scott, you can ask our question.
Holy cow, Rob. I mean, it was so cool talking to you today. And, three bullfighters sitting here having a chat with, the legend himself. It was great. This is the #NFP podcast. And, as always, we're wondering, what does NFP mean to you?
So NFP, the most important thing is you got to be able to get up.
Yeah.
In this job, we're all going to hit on the floor, whether it's the boxing ring, the bullfighting ring, whatever. You're going to hit on the floor. Anybody, once again, that Billy Williams was talking the other day, it's easy to be a champion and to smile when everything's working right.
Yep.
But what are you at, and what have you got in your tank when you've been knocked on your ass and all of us now you're scared and you got to get back up.
Mhm.
And we've all been there.
Yep.
You know, we've all been there when that bull run a horn in me in Salt Lake City in 1985, 4.5 inches to the base of my spine and made his own hole. And I'm laying in the dressing room and all I can hear Miles going, "Oh God, oh God." I said, "Miles, if you haven't got anything positive to say, would you get the hell out of here?" I mean, I remember being in the Salt Palace and Miles had set him and I jumped that 6E of Kirby's and he run that horn in me. And I remember reaching down in my baggies and going like this and I just blood everywhere, you know, and all I can feel is heat. And I don't know how bad things are, you know, and they're already thinking, in 3 days, I'm supposed to be in Joseph, Oregon. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's amazing the things that are going through your head, and you're just, and I'm already thinking about getting back up, and not only getting back up, but that the next thing I'm thinking about is as soon as I get back to fighting bulls at any rodeo, the first thing I got to do is jump one, because if I don't, every perf that I go out there and I don't jump one, it's going to be that much harder. That old deal of you got bucked off, you got to get back on the horse. I mean, it's the thing that I was known for because I wasn't a funny man was that I was the daredevil. Well, I got to go do it.
Yeah. The kamikaze.
Kamikaze.
Yeah.
Please, but I want to correct one thing too.
Okay.
I was blessed to work with a bunch of great guys. The most important thing to me was to go into the Hall of Fame, because not that Rob Smets was the best bullfighter, but Wick Pest there, Skipper Voss, Miles Hare, Rob Smets, all the list, and the list goes on and on. They got to mention me.
Yeah,
they're not going to forget you now.
For them, I'm not worried about for anybody to say that I was the best. That's an argument for those that watched it, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
For me to say that I was the best, you ain't going to get that out of me. To say that I made the Hall of Fame, that was the goal that I wanted to be. And my wife, Carla, at first, she was like, "It's all you're so egotistical. You're bad." I said, "No, it's not about that. But if I'm going to play a game, it's just like what I talked about earlier. I don't want to be in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the middle. I want to play ball. I want to be able to say he could play ball with the best of them."
Yep.
That's the most important. And that's what, if every day we go out there, I listen to Leonard Skinner's my favorite band, Freebird.
Yes.
If I leave here tomorrow, will you still remember me?
Yeah.
You go out there and fight bulls like his day could be your last day.
Right.
Wow.
Yes. Love it.
Well said.
I know we're at the end of the show, but I got to share one more quick deal.
Mike drop.
Oh yeah, it's all you. Yeah, that's cool.
Dusty Tuckness gets ready to get to his first NFR and he doesn't get in. He makes the cut of the final 5 guys, and he ends up as the alternate, and he didn't get in, you know. And he called me up. We're talking on the phone, and I said, "Okay, Dusty," I said, "here's your song. It's a long ways to the top if you want to rock and roll." Right? So all that next year, whenever I would call Tuckness on his phone, my ring was, "It's a long ways to the Rolling Stone. It's a long ways to the top if you want to rock and roll." Well, the next year he calls me and he gets the NFR.
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, Tuck, here's your song now. Leonard Skinner, Freebird.
Yeah.
If I leave here tomorrow, will you still remember me?"
Yeah.
Right.
And I said, now go fight bulls like you want to be remembered.
Oh man,
that's good stuff.
That is really
that's
good.
gold. Yeah, that's pure gold. Okay, Rob, man, we'll like I got papers and papers. These guys got questions on questions. So you'll be a return guest if you would want to.
I would be honored, guys.
Oh,
What a day! You got my motor's running. I'm fired up.
Mine too.
Go find us some old cripple ones and we'll check out.
Go step them. Okay. That's gold, brother. We appreciate you very much coming on the NFP podcast presented by 3D Entertainment.